so much. Thank you.
Brexit has been long, it's been painful, and it's been divisive, but this is a great deal for the UK. That was the message from the UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson, speaking right now in Brussels after he and other leaders from the European Union and the United Kingdom said that they had effectively reached a tentative agreement on Brexit. Let's bring in Jonah Hull. He's joining us from Brussels. The hard work, though, starts now, some might say, Jonah, because this still needs to be ratified by the EU Parliament and the UK Parliament.
Absolutely, and most of the questions put to Boris Johnson there made that point and challenged him on quite why he was so confident that it would get through the UK Parliament. What would happen if it didn't? Would he ask for a delay, as he is required to under law? Sort of vintage Johnson press conference performance there, as we've come to expect. He didn't answer really any of the questions put to him, instead repeating what is now a mantra, that he is confident that MPs will vote for this deal. This is our chance to honour the democratic mandate of the referendum and get Brexit done. It's a great deal for the UK and a great deal for the EU, he said. But yes, he will be as certain as everybody else that what happens here tonight in Brussels among EU leaders is really just the first stumbling block, and by no means the most difficult one. The most difficult one will be in the House of Commons. Even the EU Parliament may delay things beyond October the 31st, wishing to have more time to scrutinise the detail, but it could fall entirely on Saturday when there is this meaningful vote scheduled in London, and the numbers just don't stack up, obviously, in Boris Johnson's favour. He took the whip away from 21 of his own MPs. He's got a majority of minus 45. The DUP, who traditionally have supported him, say they're not going to vote for it. Those on the right of his party, who traditionally have taken their cue from the DUP, may or may not vote for it. Labour won't vote for it, though some Labour MPs might. And it remains unclear quite what happens next, except that he is bound by law now, the Ben Act, this backbench piece of legislation, to ask for a delay if it fails. And we'll have to see what the EU leaders have to say then.
Yeah, and we also did hear from EU leaders a little earlier, right before Boris Johnson was speaking, and they seemed to express relief that this deal has been reached.
Yes, I mean, it's been an awful long road, an ordeal, a tortuous process, 3.5 years since the Brexit vote, 3 years of negotiating, trying to get to this point, with several false starts along the way. There is an enormous sense of relief. That's very evident among the leaders. Just a week ago, they didn't think they'd be sitting here with a new deal, and one that really both sides feels relatively pleased about. There is a sense of expectation now that, let's send this to the parliaments and get this thing done. But of course, nobody's in any doubt about the difficulties that I've just outlined, the numbers that are there. The big question is, what happens if it doesn't work? Will there be a delay? But to give you a sense of the sort of expectation in the room, here was Donald Tusk, the president of the council, giving his view on what has happened.
The reality is that today we have a deal which allows us to avoid chaos and an atmosphere of conflict between the EU 27 and the United Kingdom. On a more personal note, what I feel today is, frankly speaking, sadness. Because in my heart, I will always be a Remainer. And I hope that if our British friends decide to return one day, our door will always be open.
Well, that sense of regret expressed by Donald Tusk there, repeated by Michel Barnier, the EU's negotiator, by Jean-Claude Juncker, by Leo Varadkar, the Irish Taoiseach, all on that stage together. But the sense is that here we are, the first stumbling block over. Let's get on with Brexit. Now, the summit conclusions are out. This is only a political nod by the leaders endorsing what is a draft framework of a deal. It now has to be ratified by the parliaments. The aim in the draft summit conclusions was to say, let's get it done by the 1st of November. That really is down to what happens in London on Saturday.
Okay, Jonah Hull, thank you.